Aloha. Welcome to Oka Ekalesia Huipuya o Hamakua o Me Kula. This is the official name the members gave this church in 1843. It roughly translates to the church from Hamakua to Kula united. These people were already members of Wailuku Church, but lived in Hamakua, Hamakua Poko, Makawao, Hali'imaile, and Kula. 173 years ago today, their pastor, the Reverend Jonathan Smith Green, came to Makawao to be with them. He left his Wailuku station of the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions, where he was in charge of the female seminary, as well as being the pastor of the Wailuku Church. The Bailey House, a museum in Wailuku that you can go see, is actually the Green's house. So you'll find a lot of history about them there. The board sent Edward Bailey as successor to Jonathan Green at the female seminary, and the house now bears his name. Jonathan Green was described by a colleague as ardent, rash, indefatigable, inclined to extremes, has strong likes and dislikes, but with all his foibles, he was a warm heart and had a great zeal for what he regards truth and righteousness. In a letter to the board, the Reverend Green wrote, "The practice of your board to send agents to solicit funds of men who hold their fellows in bondage is exceedingly revolting to my feelings." Jonathan Green abhorred slavery so much that he helped form the Hawaiian Anti-Slavery Society in 1841, and in 1842 asked to be dismissed from the board. That meant that he had to support himself if he were to continue his ministry in Hawaii. It was an enormous commitment for the 180 members of the Wailuku Church who lived in East Maui to keep him as their pastor. They must have loved him very much. When the Greens first came here, they were given a native house to live in. With Reverend Green's interests and talents in cabinetry, agriculture, and education, soon they had a sprawling house, a model farm, and another female seminary. This is Makawao a long time ago. This is where Po'okela Church is. This is the Greens' property and the model farm, which I think stretched all the way to where Oski Rice is today. This is a later map, and now you can see we're here at the bend in the, now there's an Olinda Road. The other one didn't have one, okay? And so actually the church property in this section of Olinda Road was part of the church property, okay? And it also has, I guess where Seabury Hall is now, the female seminary that his son, Joseph Porter Green, and his wife ran. For the first few years, the congregation probably met in various places since they were so spread out. In 1847, Kamehameha III gave a parcel of land to the church, and around 1850, the church started construction on this building. Then the church was simply called or referred to as the Church at Makawao. No one knows how we came to be named Po'okela. Laura Green, born in 1864 to Jonathan Green and his second wife, Asenath, called the church Po'okela with one O. Laura Green is probably one of the ladies in this picture when the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, presented Po'okela with the plaque that is now by the door as you come in, which honors her father. It was first placed in 1828 by that door. So if you look at the picture carefully, you know that that's that door. And it tells us that that was the front door in earlier times. Death, disease, and relocation of the native Hawaiians caused such a drastic decline in church membership that by 1900, the church could no longer support a pastor. In order to survive, the members finally put themselves under the Hawaiian Evangelical Association of Congregational Christian Churches, or more simply, the HEA, who then supplied the pulpit. During World War II, this building was used as a school, maybe even as a barracks, I heard from somebody, and all of our records were lost. Po'okelo was down to one active member, Minerva Kalama, as Ya'imi shared with us. Auntie Kalama, as we all fondly known her, kept the church alive by holding Sunday school for the children in the community. After the war, the HEA sent the Reverend Theodore Schultz to rebuild the church. Here is a picture of Reverend Schultz and Auntie Kalama, and if you look at our buildings, how dilapidated and disrepair they were. And yes, according to Ya'imi, he did rebuild the church, the physical structures, as well as the congregation. Here's a picture of it on this side with all of its cracks. But the HEA did put on a new aluminum roof. More than 100 years had passed, and the native population had been replaced by Paneolas and Oriental merchants and laborers. Reverend Schultz found the Japanese families open to the gospel, and the foundation for a multicultural church was laid. My uncle and aunt were one of these families, and they invited my mom, Dorothy Hugh, to this church. So I've been coming here since I was 2 years old. But even before me, Elaine Fusam and her family, the Kajiharas, were part of that early congregation. And Ya'imi Yogi, she must have been still a student, I think. And she was very active because I found minutes of meetings. So she was at one time the church clerk while she was still a student and was very active. And we have her as well as those early families, like my uncle and like the Kajiharas, the fledgling congregation back in the late 1940s and early 1950s that helped rebuild this church. So you can see that we have, it opened its doors once again to a service in 1948 in the Good Friday service, and we've been having services ever since then. So here we are today, 173 years later, still alive in Christ. Thank you. I do have the maps and a folder with the history in the back afterwards if you want to see them.